All right. Interview with Andrew Lewis, take 0, because we're only doing this once.
Great.
Hello and welcome to The Voice. My name is Joseph Salama. I am an editor here, and I'm here today with Andrew Lewis, presidential candidate for Our Future.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for coming out and just taking some time in the afternoon to speak to us.
Yeah, no problem, Joseph. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the first question we have is, students don't know what ACW does, and that's a common problem we see year after year, and it often leads to student apathy.
Sure.
Describe a tangible plan to change this.
All right. Well, the most important thing that we can do to reach out to students and increase knowledge about the various services that ASUW provides is by having a communication plan in the first place. And the first step of that plan is having a person responsible for communicating with the student body. We didn't have that until this year. I'm very confident in the communications person running on my ticket, Michelle Nance, in her ability to be able to develop effective uses of social media outlets that haven't existed in the past, like Facebook and YouTube, and using more visual ways of reaching out to people. I think videos and YouTube is going to be key. I'd like the ability to produce that kind of stuff in-house. I think that Rainy Dog Radio can be an effective mechanism for reaching students in a way that we haven't used it as before. I think there's lots of options out there that we can explore now that we have a key communications person. So I'm really looking forward to using that position and reaching out that way. The second thing is I think the president needs to be out in the community, and I think Madeline's done a good job of starting this year, of really being out in the community more, really meeting with a lot of RSOs, getting out there and networking and telling them. The other day I was at FIUTS, the Foundation for International Understanding Through Students, and I had a conversation with a girl from Moldova named Anna and told her about like what ASUW does. She had no idea. She went to ASUW Senate last week for the first time, and now she wants to be a senator. Like individual one-on-one outreach like that I think is also going to be important. And getting like a key person in each organization so they can espouse the benefits of ASUW. So those are a couple of ideas, and I'm interested in exploring more should I be president.
Yeah, absolutely. Next question we have for you is, how do you plan on working with the incoming UW president? Individual's going to be announced on this upcoming Monday.
Sure. And
how do you hope to work with the Board of Regents to push forward student priorities, working with both individuals and both groups? Okay,
yeah, that's really important. We're in we have a rare opportunity to set the tone with a new president of the university next year. That doesn't come along very often. So we are a very fortunate student government in that respect. I would insist on, since we would both be coming in as new presidents, I would like to develop a rapport with whoever the new president, whoever he or she happens to be. And I would like to meet with them weekly. That might sound like a tall order, but I think really in the way that I'm envisioning student engagement next year, I would really want to meet weekly. I would want to meet with the direct surrogates of the president, and I would want to make sure we have a very open line of communication. I don't want any surprises between student priorities and faculty priorities, especially in the context of our advocacy efforts. I want to make sure that we can get on the same page on tuition setting authority. I want to make sure we can get on the same page on financial aid priorities. And the most important thing is going to be my personal relationship with whoever the president happens to be in advancing those goals and building that trust. So I would say meeting weekly, meeting frequently, having an implied informality in our interactions is going to be very important to developing that. Because if we can't trust each other, student government's really going to break down. And I'm going to make a huge effort to develop that trust and develop that relationship in a personal way.
Yeah, absolutely. So our next question is, we know that you have strong advocating skills. We've seen it in the forums, we've seen it in your platform, which is important for the presidency, with no doubt. But what skills have you attained thus far that make you an effective asset for presiding over the board of directors at large?
Well, that's a fair question. In my capacity as Assistant Director for the Office of Government Relations, I've actually chaired 2 committees that are internal to the association. I've chaired the Legislative Steering Committee, which has representatives from Student Senate, the student community, and the Board of Directors on it. And we are charged with creating the internal legislative priorities, advocacy priorities, for the student government. Chairing this committee of some of the most important people in the association and holding all those egos in check, holding all of those parochial interests that they might have and pet projects they might have that they want to put into the agenda is is something that required a lot of ability to compromise, a lot of ability to be firm with people. I wanted to come out of that process with an easy to understand, lean, one-page document of our values and what we stand for as an association, and I was able to do that, despite all of the pressure to make it longer, which it historically has been. We finished it 2 weeks early. We got it to the Senate before Thanksgiving, which is unprecedented, and it gave Quinn Majeski, our Director of Government Relations, a really good document to serve as the foundation for his advocacy efforts. That is indicative of how I would manage the board of directors I'll have the honor of leading. I want to make sure that every member's interest is represented, but I don't want any specific pet project to dominate the agenda. And those are the skills that I honed chairing the Legislative Steering Committee, and those are the skills that I'm going to bring to the presidency. In addition to the LSC, I've also chaired the Student Transportation Task Force, which has been focusing on developing transportation policy for the association, working on negotiations to keep the UPass price low, and make sure that there's affordability, predictability, and trust between us and the administration on how we're moving the UPass forward. These two committees have given me the foundation to control the internal operations of the association. And at the end of the day, I've chosen a great vice president in Sam Weinstein that understands the association backwards and forwards. And I would be looking to her talents and her judgment to offset any disadvantages and weaknesses I might have. So yes, I'm perfectly mindful of that criticism, and I'm definitely taking steps to make sure that should I come into the association, it'll be in good hands as president.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving to our fourth question here, that advocacy is the central focus of your campaign.
Sure.
Why not apply for director of the Office of Government Relations?
Sure. No, that's another fair question. We need strong advocacy leadership at the presidential level. I don't think that just having a government relations director focused full-time on advocacy down in Olympia lobbying is enough. I think that we need the entire emphasis of our association to rise to the challenge of our day. And the challenge of our day is state funding of tuition, and whether this university is going to go down the path of becoming, in essence, privatized by having local control of tuition, and whether the state is going to continue to have a commitment to us at all. And were we in a time where there was no doubt about the state's level of commitment? And were we in a time that the state was adequately funding us, I would not be running for president. I'm running for president because we are at a watershed moment in higher education policy in this state, where if we don't do something next year, we could see the state commitment to higher ed go down the slippery slope of evaporating. And I'm going to work very closely with whoever the OGR director happens to be. I do not think that my talents would be as well suited to being in more of a mechanical position like that. I think it'd be more well suited in a position where I can speak with one voice for this campus. I can speak for the students of this campus, go down and really strongly advocate as a figure who has been legitimated by being voted into office. And I want to bring that legitimacy, and I want to bring the respect of all the people that do good work at this campus down to Olympia. And I can't do that as OGR director. I can do that as president. That's what I'm committed to.
No. Well said. Well said. So, just building off of that,
Sure.
How do you envision yourself working with the board members at large? Or what is your leadership style in that sense?
Okay. I'm looking forward to working with a very good group of talented people. I think all the people running this year on all three tickets could be exceptional in their own ways. And I'm really looking forward to the specific talents and mindsets that they're going to bring to their jobs. I really like working with people on an individual basis, empowering them to do great things within their own portfolio, making sure that it's part of a coherent overall strategy for the association, that we're all working to move the association in one strong progressive direction. I would want a strong emphasis on making sure that everyone on my board of directors was thinking of pragmatic and efficient solutions to problems that they're facing, focusing on ways to effectively liaison with their entities to make sure that at the bottom line they're providing effective services to students. If there were any sources of drama or contention on my board, I would want to put a stop to it. I would want to do that forcibly and assertively. because I think that a cohesive and functional board is essential to provide the services, especially hearing about stories from boards past where there was a high degree of dysfunctionality and it was a disservice to the student body. At the end of the day, anything any board of director member does on my board is going to be reflective of me. And there's going to be times where that's good. There's going to be times where maybe Sam Weinstein will do something great as vice president and I'll be able to take some credit for it. But there's going to be times where someone's really going to mess up. And I'm going to have to take that responsibility, and I'm going to have to be the face of the association for that in good times and bad times. And I'm committed to running a strong board, strong bonds, and getting a lot of good work done next year.
Excellent, excellent, well said.
Thanks.